I really can't believe that I had the chance to interview someone that I really admire. Master from Kevin Gray is for me a free ticket to the place and the times where this record was recorded. As soon as I spin the record, I close my eyes for 20 minutes and it's absolutely a magic experience. In this interview is unfortunately a short interview. I had some problem with the camera. Also, you will see that I'm freezing sometimes. I'm really sorry for that. So I did some editing and I tried to recover what I did my best, let's say like that. Anyway, there will be also a top 10s regarding records that I have here, mastered by Kevin Gray. We'll speak about analog versus digital, and he will tell us also some very nice news at the end. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to the channels to support my work. Okay, so it's recording. Nice to meet you. Thank you that you had time to participate to my talking show. How are you?
Oh, great. Good to see you. Good to finally meet you.
You was very busy. I know from you told me that from Monday to Tuesday you are full with work to do, right?
That's true.
Is is today your free day or?
It is.
Okay. So you have from Friday to Sunday, right?
Well, not exactly. I usually go in over the weekend. I mean, some of the stuff that I cut from digital, I have to load digital files in and that kind of thing. And so I try to get as much work outside of cutting done on the weekend.
Okay. 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 So it's 9 a.m. Pacific time. Here
That's
is 4 p.m. This is 9 hour difference, and that's okay. I mean, I'm really happy that we find the time to meet each other. So today I have some questions because I'm a vinyl fans, analog fans, records fans since a couple of months, really not so much. So I don't have so much experience in this topic. So I would like that you help me to understand a couple of things.
sure.
Then we will talk about the Tom Poet series that you are also there involved. And the main topics, it will be also analog versus digital without to go too much in deep. Just I would like to give you my impressions regarding analog that I
Okay.
had till now because I think I understood some a couple of things, and I would like to share it with you, and maybe you tell me also what do you think about it.
Okay.
So I know that they ask you these questions a lot of times, but if you would like maybe to introduce yourself and speak about what are you doing and Coherent Audio.
Okay. My name is Kevin Gray, and my company is Coherent Audio LLC. And I do mastering. These days, it's primarily for vinyl for release on phonograph record. So I'm cutting
Okay.
lacquer masters that are shipping around the world, actually.
Okay. And how did you start everything? How you get involved in the audio actually?
Well, I met a guy who owned a facility in Hollywood mastering. His name was Bob McLeod.
Mhm.
His company was Artisan Sound Recorders. And in January 1969, I was just starting high school, had, few months in. And I met him. He moved in across the street from us and asked me if I wanted to go down and see his facility.
Okay.
I was already interested in music and electronics. So, yeah, I would be interested in seeing a mastering facility. And I've said it before, but the minute I walked in the door and saw the equipment and saw him cutting a lacquer, it's like, that's what I want to do for a living. And the rest is history, as they say.
Yeah, of course. Just checking about on Discogs because you have the possibility to just type Kevin Grace and you have something like 2,500 entries. That's insane. You know, that's a lot of work.
Well, considering that I do 400 titles a year, that's way under, but but yeah, I
Wow, that's
mean, those
crazy.
are all the better known titles that I've done, I guess.
How is actually to because you know that I'm reviewing gears and most of the times before to start to review, I was really enjoying what I'm doing. I mean, I just take I have a lot of free time just to enjoy the music. And now is more about sitting there, try to focus on what is happening. Instruments are there, how is the sound stage, take notes. So everything is changed. I'm still enjoy it, but in a different way. You have also this feeling?
Yeah, yes, I do. I was a listener. I'm
Yeah.
not really a musician. I noodle on a few instruments, but I don't consider myself a musician. And so I was a listener before I became a mastering engineer. So,
Mhm.
I was always very focused on the sound and the sound stage and the way the instruments projected themselves.
Yeah.
And so, yes.
And actually, when because I grew up with cassettes, then arrived the CDs, and records was a little bit. I was too young, and was this time was already guns. But then now we have again these beautiful things. And I always say, I don't want any records. I don't want to clean records. And then one day I was watching. I don't know if you saw it on Netflix. I have it here. This Miles Davis, Wheels of the Cools, really
Hmm.
beautiful.
Hmm.
And I just getting in love with jazz music, and from there it starts everything. And the first things that I noticed when I listening, my first records actually was, okay, I don't know if you participate to this, but of course, Kind of Blue.
No,
It's
I did
yeah,
a kind of blue
yeah,
for Sony in 2011, I think it was, but
I
I
saw,
wasn't involved in that box.
yeah. And okay, I love this UHQR, I think is the name,
Hmm.
and amazing quality. And I played for the first times, and I say, wow, what's that? It's completely different from any digital source, because it's just everything sounds more natural, and there is something like, I like to say that you have this feeling that is more separations and more airs between the instruments. And after
Couldn't agree with you more.
I did also a top 10 of records that you cut, and we'll speak about it later. But I know that it is a topics we have from one parts people that like digitals, and the other parts that people that like analogs. But I really would like to see more people get involved in analog, because it's amazing.
It is. Well, you may or may not know that I'm starting my own label where everything is recorded all analog, all vacuum tube from microphones to the cutter head. And so, yeah, so I'm in total agreement with you.
So do you master in different way depending from the end source, like digital or analog?
Not really. I don't do much digital mastering anymore. I haven't for 5 or 6 years. What I
Okay.
do is I make a digital transfer when I'm cutting, and that's used for streaming and download in high
Okay.
res,
Okay. And
2496 or 24192.
okay. And mm, about tape and original masters, I know that is something hard to get original masters today, and also the tapes with the times it will be a slightly probably deteriorations. I don't know if this is correct or not. So do you think we live in an era where we are still lucky to get records from our original master tapes?
Absolutely. No, I've been vetted by everybody but Sony to receive master tapes. So I get Warner tapes, I
Hmm.
get Concord tapes, which is a whole group of labels, and of course, when I say Warner, that means Atlantic and all of the Electra, the other subsidiary labels, and the same from Universal, and of course, the Blue Notes are all cut from the
Hmm.
original master tapes. But yeah, Sony has not let tapes out to the West Coast since 2005,
Yeah.
and so I have to work from digital masters that they provide me on that stuff.
And I heard that it also was a little bit difficult to get also the lacquer also for cutting. Is still like that?
It's difficult to get lacquers.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
I hear that. I don't know if it's true or not.
Well, yes and no. I started using the MDC lacquers from Japan
Mm-hmm.
2 years before Apollo had their big fire that destroyed
Yeah.
their plant. And they were, Apollo was the largest manufacturer. They
Yeah.
claimed at one point that they were making 90% of the world's lacquers. So I'm not quite sure how MDC is holding that up. But since I was, quote, grandfathered in with them a couple of years before the fire, aside from the first year, I haven't really had any problem getting lacquers. I get sufficient lacquers.
So there is, okay, the Blue Note Tom Poet series that we saw it.
Yeah, you mentioned something about asking about the difference
Yeah,
between tone
the
poet and
difference.
classics.
So I have here. That's one of my first favorite. It's absolutely beautiful.
I love Charles Lloyd, and I like working with him, and I love his music, and I've known Charles since the '80s, so it's a thrill to be doing his stuff.
And correct me if I'm not wrong. This is coming from digital, right?
Uh,
Because there is any, it's just saying.
yeah, most of those are recorded
Mastered by
native
Kevin
digital,
Gray.
the new
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
And actually, what I did was compare it with the digital source. I have Kobut, so it's probably one of the best streaming source. And God, there is difference like night and day. So the records, it just sounds amazing. There is one song. This was the second song, if I'm not wrong, Rambling. You have a lot of instruments concentrated in the center imaging, and in digital, it just sound unnatural. On the record, is like one band playing together. It's crazy because I wanted to do these comparisons just to say that also, if probably coming from a digital master, it still sounds better.
Well, I have a very good digital converter too. I think that helps. I have a Pacific Microsonics Model 2, and it's still my favorite A to D or D to A converter that I've heard.
Because you did actually, or I saw a video on YouTube that was YouTube channel is called Radio something. He visit you, I think, and was in your studio, and he showed all your instruments that you actually built it by yourself, if I'm not wrong, right?
Yes, yeah, all the analog stuff. The stuff that I'm doing for my label, I'm recording direct to 2-track tape on a Studer C37, which is a vacuum tube valve, machine.
And what do you think about half speed and 45 RPM?
I'm not a fan of half speed at all. I think it introduces more problems than it fixes.
Okay.
I wrote a paper about that, which there's
Yeah,
also a
that's
short
all.
video on the internet about it.
Yeah.
But it works with the digital master. It doesn't really work well with an analog master. And since everybody's trying to keep everything analog, I think that's the issue. 45 RPM. There's no argument that it sounds better than 33 1/3. I don't like 45s because I don't like sitting there flipping the record over 2 times,
Yeah.
while I'm trying to listen to it. I guess I'm too old for that. I'm an LP guy.
Already with 33, you have to stand up and flip the records is in a speedway, no? So 45
yeah,
is
10 minutes is a short stint for flipping sides over.
45 is stuck and it's just finished. Okay, again. I prefer also 33.
Okay.
And okay, let's back on the Tom Poet series. I don't know. I have here another great, so beautiful that just arrived to me.
That is my favorite Coltrane record.
It's absolutely amazing, and I really love actually the jacket quality. That's something so beautiful. It's really well done. I never saw something like that. That's the first time that I got, and for an affordable price, actually, that's something also beautiful. What is because I know there is also a mono release,
right?
And the original master tape is both stereo or mono, or did
yes, there's both a stereo and a mono mix on that record, which was one of the last recordings that Rudy did in both mono and stereo. After that, he just started doing stereo, and they would mix the stereo tape to mono for the mono release.
Okay. And is your way to work on a tape or the way to cut change with the times? For example, I'm asking you this because I have some old records from 70, and when I play it, I find that in the bottom end there are not so plentiful. You know what I mean? And I
I
don't
do.
know if it's something that is regard this era maybe that there was cut difference. Maybe you can help me to understand this.
Well, I think there's two issues there. One is, again, the same thing with folding in the sides.
Hmm.
They also would tend to roll off the low bottom to keep it from skipping on cheap players. And since
Okay.
the target for the stuff that I'm doing is mostly audio files, we don't do that. And
Okay.
my system is quite a bit flatter on the bottom end than most.
Yeah.
So it goes all the way down, you know, below
So
10 hertz, below
so did you
5.
have to change the way also to cut in from the past to now, right?
Right, right, yeah,
Yeah.
and there were a
It-
lot of things, compromises that were introduced
yeah.
when they were cut originally that were necessary that aren't any longer.
Yeah. That's actually really interesting. Okay. Next one we have also this beautiful. Found it that was done from you. There is
Impex,
yeah, Impex, yeah.
yeah, that
Can
one
be.
might have been done by Barney. I don't remember for sure.
Because sometimes also is there is not so much on you cannot find so many information. For example, on the Tom Poet you got the sticks and there says mastered by Kevin Gray, but
Hmm. Yeah,
in other decks not so much.
Impex uses Bernie a lot. They use me a lot.
Okay, there is something here is Mr. Records can be your
Oh
I
wait,
don't
oh
know
so that was Mr. Record
Mr. Records.
and Dr. Groove.
Yeah, can be Mr.
So that was actually done on Cisco, probably not Impex.
No, this Ampex.
All right, maybe it's an early
Yeah,
Impex. That yeah,
yeah,
Mr.
Mr.
Record is
Records.
Robert Pincus, who was the
Okay.
reissue
Okay.
producer, and
Okay.
and I just said jokingly, well, if you're Mr. Record, I'm Dr. Groove, and so he said, okay, go ahead and scribe that on there too. So instead of saying KPG at wherever, it said Mr. Record and
You
Dr. Groove.
always write KPG or not always?
Well, not back at when I was at Artisan Sound, nobody put their initials on the stuff, but ever
Okay.
since then, I've always put my initials on stuff with
Okay.
at, you know, CA now, and before that it was ATM for acoustic mastering, and it goes
Okay.
back to LRS and several other
Are you
MCA.
free, are you free to write what you want actually, or
Yeah, pretty well. Not the messages, the little messages.
no?
Those
Okay.
are always requested by the label or the producer. So I can't just write anything in there, but I do,
Okay.
yeah, put my initials.
Okay. Next one.
As much for anything as for what you're doing right here, because a lot of times I don't remember a particular title.
Yeah.
I do about 400 a year. So
Joe Anderson.
yes, is that a tone poet?
Beautiful. This is Tone Poet. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I can't quite see. There's a glare on it. Yeah, I love Joe.
Yeah.
He's
Here
he's
we
one of
go.
my favorite sax players. Yeah,
Wait,
I don't
I'm
think I did.
flip the camera. I think
There you go.
Here we go.
Yeah, I could go back. Oh yeah. Was that a Blue Note or
This was
Impact?
no. This was yeah, Blue Note. Yes, but analog production.
Yeah, I mastered that. I'm pretty sure.
And I know that it's hard to remember everything, but I'm just giving you a top 10 of my favorite because I really love
Okay.
it. That's a classic, Dexter Gordon Go.
Oh yeah.
And here I will be back on the questions regarding, because this is not a Tom Poet. The difference, I don't know if you can answer to these questions, but probably you know it. Difference between the Tom Poet series and the classic series.
Sure. I master both.
Okay.
On the Tone Poets, I work with Joe Harley.
Yeah.
And we have a great working relationship, and always look forward to doing a new project with him. The Classic series is actually headed up by a guy on the East Coast for Blue Note. His name is Jem Kurzman. And
Okay.
he's kind of the unsung hero of the Classic series. And
Okay.
being that he's on the East Coast, I'm not working with him in the mastering. So, the Classics are all me, and the Tone Poets are Joe and I. But
Okay.
there's differences. I don't know how to say this, politically correct, but the Blue Notes, the Tone Poets are a little bit more high end in that they have the full color jackets with the black and white pictures inside.
Yeah.
They're pressed at RTI, plated and pressed at RTI. The classic series is done at Optimal in Germany and pressed and processed.
Hmm.
And the jackets are a little simpler, and they sell for
Yeah.
less money. And it's a very, very popular series. Also, one interesting point for me about the two different things: the Tone Poets. Joe was allowed to dip into a few other labels outside of Blue Note, like Pacific Jazz,
Hmm.
and so we've done several Pacific Jazz titles under
Yeah.
the Tone Poet series. In the classics, one thing that I think that's really nice that Jem is doing is he's putting in some other stuff other than the well-known early Blue Notes, like some of the mid-70s funk jazz stuff,
Hmm.
which I actually, a few titles, one of my favorite mid-70s funks is Places and Spaces, Donald Byrd.
I have
And
it.
I mastered that originally in the
I have it. I
70s
have it.
with the Sky High Productions guys.
Hmm.
So it was a real kick to be able to do that title again. And also, I think Bobby Humphrey, Fancy Dancer, I think we did that also too
Okay. No, I
in
don't
the
know it.
classic series. Anyway,
Okay.
yeah, fun stuff.
But what I like of Tom Poet, okay, absolutely, the quality is amazing. But that in Europe you can find it easily. That's something that at good price, and this is something that in Europe, you got the US press in Europe is not easy for us, and that's absolutely something really beautiful. Another one here, Bill Evans, You Must Believe in Springs. This also absolutely beautiful records. This from Craft Recording.
Oh, Kraft, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, actually, I think some of that was done by Bernie Grunman. There's sort of two different factions at
Okay.
Cutboard.
This is done by you.
Oh, okay.
Uh,
Okay.
okay.
Sorry. Like I say, they kind
Yes.
of blur
Uh,
together after a while.
all analog mastering from the original tapes by Kevin Gray at Coherent Audio. 45
Right.
RPM, 12
Right.
12p. Beautiful.
Yeah, I've done quite a few Bill Evans titles for them, and yeah, all from the master tapes. I'm a huge Bill Evans fan, so it's a thrill to be able to work on that stuff.
Then one of my favorite probably, this Boss Tenor, Jenny Ammons.
Oh yes,
Love it.
great title.
And in the end, to complete, this is probably also my top, Night Lights.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if you remember this. This is from Newland also. This is
Okay.
mastered by Kevin Gray at Coherent Audio, Jerry Mulligan's Night
Right.
Lights.
Yeah, I'm doing a lot of titles for them now.
Yeah, beautiful. Absolutely amazing. Anyway, so do you have time to go to hi-fi show? What you doing in your free times? Do you have times to do stuff like that, or?
It depends. My general rule of thumb is I don't go to a hi-fi show unless I get
Hmm,
asked to be on a panel or speak. But occasionally I will go to a hi-fi show, and I'll
okay,
probably be doing that a bit more with my record coming out. So
okay.
um, yeah.
So there are records that probably would you like to cut and you didn't got yet the opportunity to do it?
Well, I've mentioned I've never had a chance to work on the Beatles or the Rolling Stones,
Hmm.
and I've done a lot of other British Invasion stuff. I got a new Kinks project coming up, which I'm kind of excited about. So I can't really talk about the details yet, but so yeah, I worked on a lot of British Invasion, which was what I grew up with and kind of my favorite thing in music.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, nope, had no chance at the Beatles or the Stones, unfortunately.
Talking by because I'm really jazz fan. Probably 90% of my records are jazz, and
Oh,
I
okay.
would I would like to see done from you probably take five.
Oh yeah, I've never had a shot at that one. I did. Let's see. Nope, I didn't. I didn't. I don't think I ever cut that.
Hmm.
But yeah, that's one of my favorites. Right up there with Kind of Blue. Two of the big iconic Columbia jazz records from the late '50s, early '60s.
How is actually to listen the master tape compared to what you cut?
They sound pretty close.
Okay,
I don't
interesting.
know how much better I can define it, but
Okay, how you operate as soon you receive the master tape? what are you doing?
Well, I thread up the tape and hit rewind, and then
Mhm.
when it gets to the top, I listen to it, and I listen to it all the way through.
Okay.
And making notes and changes as I go. I like to listen to the first two or three tracks before I start making any changes,
Hmm.
just to kind of get a feel for it, get into it, so to speak. Um, and a lot of people start twisting the knobs really quickly, and I don't tend to do that. I want to know what the
Okay.
intent was before I start changing anything. I try
Okay.
to get an original copy of the record from the label if possible, or sometimes I'll actually buy one
Hmm.
again just to see what they did in the day when they cut it, and
Okay.
then I have to decide whether I'm going to follow that or try to take a little bit different approach.
Okay. Yeah, interesting. And because uh, I think that your speaker is working really good because the copy that we are receiving are amazing. So keep it, don't change it.
All right, yeah, it's a custom system.
Yeah,
It's
it's yeah.
yeah, tri-amplified, four-way, passive crossover between the mid-range and tweeter. Dyne Audio mid-ranges and tweeters, JBL mid-bass, JBL subwoofers,
Okay. So
and
you have the subwoofer that are separate from the main speaker
no, they're right next to them.
next to them. Okay. Okay.
And they're dual 18s, so the system goes down to about 12 hertz with a
Oh,
little bit of room gain, built in for the room. But yeah.
okay. Okay. And speaking about modern speakers, there is something that you liked, something that you saw maybe?
Actually, I just heard a speaker that I'm quite impressed with. Mobile
Okay.
Fidelity is about ready to launch a
Okay.
speaker.
Yeah.
It's an
Okay.
8 inch, no, it's a 10-inch two-way coax in
Ah,
about a maybe 2.5 cubic foot box.
okay.
And I heard them in the offices that they've set up down in West LA, designed by
Andrew Jones maybe can be
yes,
because he's
yes,
working with them now. Yeah.
yes. And so he demoed them for us and played us some of his favorite material, and we brought
Mm-hmm.
along some LPs to play,
Yeah.
and was quite impressed. They sounded very, very good, very
Okay.
natural.
Yeah, yeah, he did good work. Actually, he was here in Germany. He was working for ELAC. He's a speaker company here in
Yes,
Germany.
yeah, he
Yeah,
mentioned that.
and then he moved now with them. But I
Right,
didn't so yeah. Nice to you give us a nice news.
right.
So what you like to listen in your 3 days? Let's call it like that in the weekend, or you just doing something else?
Well, at night I usually come home and put on the classical station and listen to
Okay.
that on FM, just for
Ah,
background
okay. For
music. When I'm
okay.
doing serious listening, it's almost always vinyl. I have CDs
Mm-hmm.
that I'll put on when we're having friends over, and it's just playing for background music. But
Mm-hmm.
when I'm listening to something seriously, it's usually jazz, and it's usually on vinyl.
Okay.
Occasionally I'll listen to a pop release. Occasionally I'll listen to a
Mm-hmm.
classical, but jazz probably 75%.
Okay. And what do you think about the young people today? Because last times I was actually in a record shop and buying some vinyl there, and it was full of young people. It's really nice to see now that they
It
are
is. I'm
interested in
very
that.
impressed. I'm very
Yeah.
pleased. You
Yeah.
know, jazz
Crazy.
was
Yeah.
going away, records were going away, and it's all making a huge comeback.
Yeah. But I would like to see probably more people involved in the high quality reproduction. Let's call it like that. We are still a small group, it's still a small club.
Right,
Do you think
right.
the company are doing enough for the high end audio reproductions, or there is something that could be done more to
Well, the
get?
big problem right now is
Mm,
the bottleneck that's happening at the pressing plants, and
yeah.
also the bottleneck that's happening at the jacket manufacturing level. When I went to one of the jacket manufacturers to get the one for my Kristen Edkins record that we're coming out with,
Mm.
they told me 35 weeks. It's like I thought
Oh,
the problem was all at the pressing plant level. It's also in the
wow,
jacket fabrication. So I had to go with a different jacket company because I couldn't wait that
wow,
long. And this jacket company told me 6 to 12 weeks. So even that's
wow.
extensive. So we're
They don't
hopefully
have.
going to get it out before the end of the year, but it's been a fight.
That's crazy. Because they have a lot of work, or capacity is lower, or
Yeah, I mean,
what exactly the problem?
they're doing so many releases, it really backs them up.
That's crazy.
It
That's
is.
crazy. Because probably the main ones of Blue Note is in US, I think. They use how it's called, this jacket
Stoughton.
manufacturers. So yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's who I talked to that
Sorry.
told me 35 weeks, so I couldn't wait that long.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah, I found another fabricator that's very, very good. I think their work is right on par with Stoughton.
Okay.
But Stoughton, I think, is already they've set the bar, so to speak. So everybody else is kind of trying to equal them.
Okay. So the first time I contacted you, you told me that you are very busy, you have a lot of work, and maybe you can give to us some news about what you are working now, or
The problem with that is a
Mm,
lot of the labels want to make the announcements when it's ready
yeah.
to launch. So I'm doing a lot of work for Jackpot Records.
Okay, I don't know it.
It's a small label. They're based up in
Mm.
Portland, Oregon. It's a record store that has turned into a reissue
Ah,
label. And I've been
okay.
doing work for them for almost 10 years, although an
Hmm.
awful lot of it was from digital because a lot of what they were doing was sort of 80s punk and that sort of thing. And some of
Okay.
it was, recorded digitally, well, 80s and
Okay.
90s.
Mm.
But they've started a branch into doing some 60s and 70s rock, and I'm getting original master tapes. They're licensing from Warner, and I just did 4 titles for Booker T and the MGs from the
Hmm.
original tapes. I
Hmm.
did 3 Electric Prunes albums,
Okay.
which was a mid '60s rock band, and then I'm in the process right now of finishing up 3 titles for the Meters, which is an R&B band
Hmm.
from the early '70s, and this has all been great sounding stuff. I was really kind of blown
Yeah.
away.
Yeah. Actually, now I just purchased a Love Supremes. This one cutted by you, but
Yes.
from so was cutted by you and produced here in Germany from Speaker Corner.
Okay.
And how it's working? You cut and you ship it to Europe, or
Well, actually, Speaker's Corner tends to have the lacquers processed here and then have the metal parts shipped to Germany, which
okay.
is a great idea if the plant will work with you that way because
Mhm.
you get them processed much faster and
Yeah,
the
yeah.
the fidelity is a little bit better.
And I know actually that you like also classic music, right?
I do.
But I didn't saw any classic records cut by you.
Oh, I've cut quite a bit of classical.
Okay.
Well, for Speaker's Corner, I did that whole Columbia Masterworks
Okay.
series that they
I have
put
to check.
out.
Okay.
And in all honesty, that was cut from the analog tapes. I was shocked that they got sent out here because I
Okay.
guess they are under a slightly different umbrella than the rest of Sony. So
Okay.
maybe it was an error. I don't know what, but it was like probably close to 20 titles.
Oh, okay.
So
I will
yeah,
go to check. I
yeah.
lost it. I have to sign it.
And then also, actually, I love working for Speaker's Corner, although I guess they're in the process of a sale. I don't know if that's
Really?
general knowledge
Okay.
yet, but
I didn't know it. Oh,
yeah, yeah. I haven't done any work for them for a while, I think because of this changeover. But
okay.
yeah, of course they're adamant about getting the masters on everything that I do for them, whether it be from Warner or from Universal.
Okay.
So
Nice. I think with the questions, I don't want to take too much your times, and I have to tell you thank you very much that you had times to participate to my this short interview, and
you're most welcome.
that was really nice from you, and just to meet you and speak with you, and let's hope to maybe have another talking in the future. Thank you very much, Mr.
I'd
Gray.
love to. All
If you
right, take
want to
care.
to to add something, maybe.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
I'd love to talk to you about my label when we get ready to launch the record, which hopefully will be in the next month or two.
Oh, okay. Maybe you can say something more about it. Interesting.
Well, I came up with a crazy idea 15 years ago, and that would be to try to produce modern recordings with a vintage sound. And
Okay.
so, in thinking about that, I decided, well, let's see. Most of the stuff that we all love is from the vacuum tube era exclusively,
Okay.
you know, mid 50s to mid 60s.
Mhm.
So I designed and built uh, 8 microphones and an 8 in, 2 out, you know,
Okay.
mixer, and
Mhm.
refurbished a Studer C37 analog tape machine to vacuum tube tape machine. And then I built a complete disc cutting system that includes the console and the cutting electronics and amplifiers. And
Oh,
I'm using Macintosh MI350s to drive the cutter head in that system. And so I'm going all tube from microphones to cutter head. And the label's called
oh,
Cohearent Records. Big surprise.
okay.
And the first record is with a sax player named Kirsten Edkins, and
Yeah.
we got Gerald Clayton on piano, and
Okay.
Chris Wabich on drums, and Lamar Guillory on trombone, and Amit
Ah,
Turkmenoglu on
wow.
bass.
Wow.
And so, yeah, and I'm very excited about it. We recorded it actually the end of last year. We did it December of last year, and it's just taken
Okay.
this long to get it finally into production.
Okay. How much will take? Do you have any dates about any scheduled dates?
I don't yet. I don't yet.
Okay.
Hopefully
Okay.
before the end of the year, but that's all I can say. Once the jackets, get into the fabrication
Yeah.
stage, I think I'll have a better idea.
Oh, that's a great news. That's a great news.
Thank you.
Looking
Very
forward to see
excited about it.
something from you. So thank you very much. Thank you guys from Med Audios Everything. I hope you enjoy the video and the short interview, and see you soon. Ciao, ciao.
Take care. Bye.
So guys, that was my short interview. I hope you enjoy it. I hope to speak again with him and to know something more regarding the Cohearent records. For now, from Med Audios Everything, peace.